standing here at Te Waihorotiu, what's going through your mind? Sir John, would you like to answer first?
Well, super impressive for a start off. And a sort of sense of real joy, actually, that we made the decision together, obviously with Auckland Council. Len, I think, was the great father of the project, actually, had the vision, wanted to do it, lobbied the government, spent a lot of time bending my ear and various ministers. But you've got to have someone that's passionate about wanting to do something, and it's a great legacy project, if you like. It's an ongoing legacy because, tens of thousands of New Zealanders and Aucklanders will use it every single day, and so it's just a great thing. And you look, any big project like this, you've got to have someone who's the champion, and Len was that champion.
There you go, Len, the champion of the project. It must be quite emotional standing here then.
Yeah, look, it is actually a very emotional day, and emotional not just for me, but for the city as a whole. Aucklanders have been dreaming of this moment for decades. The original announcement for the CRL was in 1923. So it's been a long time in the making.
Yeah.
But a lot of credit needs to go to the people of the city who recognised and supported the project and supported me to deliver, and also the people of New Zealand through the government of the day, led by Sir John, who backed the project financially and supported Auckland in its call for this transformational project for the city. So a huge day for Aucklanders, and I'm hugely personally proud.
And so, Len, back then, what gave you the confidence that this was the right call?
I had a mandate. I was elected with a very strong majority in 2010, and I'd spent a lot of time campaigning on this issue in particular. The Aucklanders saw this as the number one issue that needed to be delivered, and they saw that came through in the Auckland plan as soon as we were elected and in place. And I announced it in November 2010, and from that point in it was discussions with the government. And look, it took a little while, primarily because Sir John here needed to see proof of concept. And so it was about lifting our transport numbers in behind an integrated transport network, but it was also about us putting skin in the game. So an important part of this project was the council putting up funding to support the project in its genesis, and then going to the government for a partnership. And in 2013, Sir John and the government came through strongly. Really appreciated it.
And Sir John, were there any sticking points or concessions that had to happen back then? Like, how did that play out?
Hey, do you mean my cabinet ministers? Look, I mean, in the end, I think we were very much an infrastructure government. I mean, we had done the rollout of ultra-fast broadband through Crown Fibre Holdings. We'd started the Waikato Expressway. We'd done the Waterview Tunnel. I mean, there were so many projects around New Zealand Transmission Gully. So actually, at the core of it, the government was a massive believer in infrastructure development, and that was really led by, Simon Bridges as Minister of Transport, Stephen Joyce, who was Minister of Everything basically, and Bill English, who held the purse strings. So they were the three, and they were very united in their view. But the challenge always is there's competing interests, for money. You remember we'd come through the GFC, so there was lots of pressure. And you're spending a lot of taxpayer dollars. You're spending it in one part of the country, funded by people right across the country. So there's always going to be a bit of give and take. But I think, in the end, we wanted to do the project, wanted to see it completed. And I think with these big projects, it won't be any different from when the alternative harbour crossing happens. I mean, again, was announced in my day. It's going to take a bit of time, but at some point there's going to be a couple of brave souls, whoever the Prime Minister of the day is and whoever the Auckland Mayor is of the day, and hopefully they're going to give it a shove, because eventually these things take a very long time. And for all the critics you get of any project, which you'll get of this one, it cost too much, took too long, whatever, there'll be all these things, all that melts away when people start getting on the train and it works efficiently. So success has many fathers, as they say, and I think ultimately when people are getting on the train and it's working, it'll have all those fathers and mothers cheering it on that they were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all good.
So I just want to say that I think an important part of this, so the Super City was set up, one, to stop us from arguing, which had been holding us back from major delivery of significant projects, and secondly it was to present a common single face to the government. And so if there are lessons from the CRL, it is one, get a very clear vision of what it is you're trying to do in your city. Secondly, set a plan. And then thirdly, get the government in beside you and make it a collaborative project. And in the end, this is an example of how New Zealand can really operate. This is a collaborative project. And it's just not my council, it's the successor councils and it's the successor governments who have said, right, we're doing this.
Well, that was a key question, sort of what does it show about the central and local government relationship, and you've essentially answered that. So then you sort of touched on it, Sir John, in terms of what you would say to future leaders about investing in big projects like this. Like you've kind of said you just got to do it. Is that your advice? What's your message?
Yeah, okay, you need a little bit of bravery. You know, it's a bit like Yes Minister. They always tell you, you know, be brave Prime Minister. That's usually a sign that you're about to get the boot, actually. But, you know, a bit of bravery is required. Because, I mean, ultimately with any of these things, there's always going to be naysayers. And it won't matter how good the project is, how much it stacks up, how necessary it is. There'll always be people that do that. So you have to have a bit of courage of your convictions, I think is the first thing. Second thing is, I think you do have to have vision. I mean, as Len said, I mean, you know, we set up the Super City, Len came in as the leader of the Super City, people had expectations. We all used to sit around, rightfully so, saying Auckland's the commercial capital of New Zealand, it's the thriving city that we want to compete with the likes of Sydney and Melbourne. If you're going to do that, you know, they build these projects all the time and they don't second guess themselves because they know that's what you need for a fast growing city. And it is what we need. And so you have to invest. And I think there's been a long standing argument, it's not really worth traversing today, but when you spend $1 on infrastructure, you grow, you know, as long as it's done properly, you actually grow economic growth, economic productivity and future tax and rates earnings, right? You actually grow the economy, right? When you spend it on some other stuff, maybe you don't always get that. So governments, I think, do have to be a bit more courageous when it comes to infrastructure spending, because it is an investment in the future. And it's a bit like, I would say to people, you know, if you do up your kitchen and your bathroom in your house, you'll sell your house more easily and for more. If you spend the money on, I don't know, some gold-plated thing that no one really cares about, you'll probably lose money. So just be a bit wise, I think, is the point, really.
Well, so I just want to add to that. One of the things that I've become acutely aware of, because there's been a lot of chat around the cost. This was promoted in 1923, and particularly through the 70s with a guy called Sir W. Robinson who led the city then. And he costed this project at $140 million to deliver at that time. And I think one of the real important learnings for us as a country, not just a city, is delay is cost. You know, be quite clear where you're going. Be in agreement, determine funding, and then for God's sake, do it.
And to that point, how important is the conversation around it not just being a transport project, but it's sort of an entire urban project and the reshaping, the transformation of Auckland as a whole?
Oh, it's at the heart of it. You know, so a critical part of urban development and urban design is about ensuring that you have a way for the community to get around efficiently and effectively, and relatively cheaply also. And in the modern day, with some degree of acknowledgement of sustainability of your movement. So the importance of shaping the city around mass transit has been at the heart of this project. The transport was just one issue. The opportunities that we still haven't seen fully realised are for the development around the stations and the development around the main rail routes. That's happening to some degree. I have a real regret that I didn't spend enough time really focusing on the need to develop around the stations. I felt that we should have spent more time working in beside precinct properties and Wallace Bond and some of the significant developers who could have had partnerships with us, help subsidise part of the development, but also deliver on the potential for density and proximity to workplace that something like a CRL now presents to Aucklanders.
We talked about project learnings, but what did you learn about each other during that time?
I learned to trust him. I mean, in the end, he was, we always knew that there were political imperatives on both sides. But in the end, I would give John my word or he'd give me his, and that was it. I knew what he wanted to see, and I knew that getting ducks in a political row was always a challenge. I had enough challenges on my side. Yeah. But in the end, I trusted him, and ultimately that paid off.
Yeah.
Is that same for you?
Yeah, actually, I don't think it was a terribly difficult thing to do because we always had a really good working relationship. It was a very positive relationship. I used to go and see Len quite a lot as Mayor of Auckland, largest, voting base, largest city in the country. We needed to be on the same page. It wasn't just actually the CRL. There were quite a number of issues that we were working on. Yeah, and the Super City was new, so obviously we were wanting the Super City to be successful. And as Len said, there was a lot of mutual respect. So it actually wasn't a hard thing. It's not like we were going into a fractious relationship. I mean, the challenge with any of these projects isn't the project often itself. It's just that there are always competing interests. You sit around a cabinet table and you have 20 ministers and they represent different parts of the country, different interests, and you can speak eloquently and with a lot of force about the need of a project in Auckland, but someone that lives in Wellington or lives in Christchurch might say, yeah, okay, but we've got something else as well. So it's not quite. Christchurch happens. So it's not always as straightforward. But look, in the end, I don't ever recall. There was always a high degree of trust. I don't ever recall there ever being an issue, and we'd have quite confidential conversations. They never leaked on either side. We worked well together, I thought.
In terms of the fact that it's nearly complete, you've been here today, you've seen a train go through. Do you think that Aucklanders and New Zealanders have an understanding or comprehend how this will transform the city?
Oh yes, I mean this is not, it just didn't come out of the bullseye. It wasn't developed in a vacuum or out of my imagination. This had been from decades of debate and discussion and analysis. This was an important and critical part of Auckland's transport options. Mass transit in the middle of it, connecting up with all of the other parts of our transportation system. So absolutely, it was something that came through from a significant amount of debate, and in the end, Aucklanders, I think, fully understand what it is that we've delivered and what the potential benefits are. Particularly if you're living out west, 20 minutes saving coming from out west into here. That is much more beneficial than sitting in gridlocked motorways, at peak hour, morning and afternoon. It gives Aucklanders genuine choice in their transport options. Yeah. And there will be some interesting discussions around congestion charges in the months ahead, but this makes that discussion more tenable because there are other options aside from just getting in and out of your car and paying some type of charge. So, it really opens up the city to the future. And it's just not about now. It's just not about the challenges we've faced. This is about the next 100 years. And so it's a hugely significant investment for the city, and I have no doubt that the people of Auckland will take to it.
Yeah. And what are you looking forward to most when it does open?
Apologies for a quick battery change.
Short questions, thank you, gentlemen. Len, just picking up where you left off there, what are you most looking forward to when it does open?
Well, the trains coming through the stations. And in particular, just Auckland has taken the opportunity to, sort of engage with the next part of the future of the city and getting a sense. I mean, one of the things that I was particularly focused on when I became the mayor was that I felt the city had lost its mojo. Its ability to get stuff done and to move and to really focus on delivery. And I think that this will give Aucklanders a sense that the city's still got its mojo. We can still get stuff done, and not only get stuff done, but stuff that is really critical and important to our lifestyle and our well-being.
And Sir John, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the surprise that comes from Aucklanders, because I think I kind of agree with Len. On the one hand, I remember all the discussions at the time about, CRL was a big, mess. It was the campaign that Len ran and all of those things. But I think actually at the moment Aucklanders don't understand at all the size of the scale of what's taking place. So I think when they come down, they'll be blown away by how big it is. I think the second thing is they don't really understand efficiency. So you used to have 12 trains that could go in and out, and you'd have to back them in and out. Now you've got 60 trains that can go around. I mean, this thing can be transformational for people. I mean, I regularly go on the Northwestern Motorway if I'm going up north or something at 6:10 in the morning, and it's gridlocked at 6:10 in the morning. Now, there's going to be lots of opportunities for lots of people travelling all around Auckland to use public transport now that wasn't an option before. So I think they are actually going to have to discover that actually there are really credible options that, it's a hell of a lot better taking the train into town to go to something and, for lunch or, in the weekend or a sporting event or whatever it might be. So there'll be a bit of that learning process. It's also part of the growing up process. People say Aucklanders or New Zealanders don't like public transport. They're the same people who go to London and get straight on the underground, because anyone who's got half a brain knows get in a taxi, it'll cost a lot and take you 3 times as long. Well, in the end, actually done the right way, public transport will be a very efficient part of the solution. And I think the only other thing that's worth remembering is Auckland's an extremely spread out city. Its topography is like Los Angeles, and actually the reality is that as people start their housing journey, if you like, and a lot of lower income people are forced to live further out, so they face real transport costs. It's really difficult for them. They're a long way out, but they're going to spend a lot of money to get to where their job might be. This starts making their life better for them, and they're people who really need that support. So that's the really good thing about it. Hopefully it's an enabler for people to actually have a faster, more enjoyable, more convenient, more predictable life.
This may never have happened for you two. How proud are you standing right here, right now, looking around at what's being built?
It's pretty emotional. When you realise a dream for your city and your people, but also, an acknowledgement of your own personal effort and those around you, and those that you work with. It's emotional, and sometimes it's hard to put into words. But it's a great day and a great time for Auckland.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously I'm really, really proud of it. I mean, because it looks fantastic and it's going to work and it's really good, so that's a good thing. Mostly what I'd say is, look, pretty much I think every Prime Minister that's taken the job, or a lot of leaders that have come to me over time and said, what's your one piece of advice, or what would you suggest? I've always said, you always regret in politics the things you didn't do. You very infrequently regret the things you did do. And we did do this, and in 150 years time, I'm probably a lot less than that, neither of us are going to be here, right? But people will always look back and go, wow, they actually had the mental strength to do that. And it's easy to say it's easy, but it wasn't easy. Like when we did it, there were tons of critics, and over the last 9 years there's been plenty of critics, and when it opens there'll still be some people who are critics. It's just the nature of the beast. But you go into politics to make people's lives better, and they always say the test of a great Prime Minister or a great Mayor is whether they left their city or their country in better shape than they found it. Personally, I think the CRL leaves them in better shape than they found it.
Well, congratulations. We can't wait for you to see it when it opens, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much.